Chime. Please join me in our words of gathering. While the world has become more divided, we aspire to oneness and unity. We seek solidarity with all of creation, with devotion to all that is sacred and true. May our collective attention be brought to here and now, to the threshold which is the present moment. We now immerse ourselves in loving kindness as we begin this holy hour of worship. And now our covenant statement. Our purpose is to continue in our time what Jesus began in his, working for the healing of our world as an inclusive, compassionate, and joyful community. And now Sandy Polly's going to come up. She's going to do the readings, and we welcome you as our guest today to do the reflection. Well, not really a guest, our member to do the reflection.
Hello, everyone. So I selected these two readings because I felt they closely tied to my reflection, obviously. I went with Galatians 6:2, which says, "Carry each other's burdens. In this way, you will fulfill the law of Christ." And the second is from Ecclesiastes 4:9-10. "Two are better than one, because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up." Thank you. I'm going to do the hymn now. I didn't bring it. 53. Number 53. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the word. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where God's feet pass. Mine the sun's sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light, Eden saw play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day.
So, I don't know if I've met everyone yet. Obviously, you've heard my name, and I'm Sandy. I have been coming to this church for the past 6 months. I've had the privilege of becoming part of the NCC family, and I've selected these two readings I think are perfect for what I want to share with you today. During those same 6 months, I also started as a case manager for Dreams Are Possible, and it's a local not-for-profit that's here in Bloomington Normal. What began as an unexpected career change also became part of my spiritual journey. This morning, I want to share those two short readings that have stayed with me over the past few months that I came across first during a soul group with Nikki and with Lori. And they at first felt unrelated. I didn't quite understand them, but as my own life has unfolded, I've realized they were telling the same story. So that first one is from Howard Thurman, and it starts with, "Don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs is people to come alive." And then the second one is from Robin Wall Kimmerer, and that one is one I really had trouble with at first, and it starts like this: "Hoarding won't save us. All flourishing is mutual." And that meaning got me thinking about flourishing and what these quotes mean. When I first read the two quotations, I didn't realize they were telling the same story. Howard Thurman is asking us what makes us come alive, and Robin Wall Kimmerer reminds us that none of us come alive alone. It took my own life changing before I understood what either of those quotations really meant. So I've lived blocks away from this church for the last 6 years. And nearly every single day I drive by this building. And every election I walk through the doors because this is my polling place. And almost every single time I came here, I thought to myself, one of these days I really should come to church and experience it. It's funny how life can make one of these days turn into 6 years, but that's how it goes. Work was busy, travel was part of my life, so I was traveling every month. Life was full. The quiet nudge, though, remained in the background, but I never answered it. Then one day, everything changed, and I lost my job. And like so many people who suddenly find themselves unemployed, I worried about the practical things: rent, groceries, utilities, what would come next. I knew finding another position would probably take months, but I also knew something else. I needed more than job applications to get through the days. I needed purpose, I needed community, I needed something to keep my mind occupied and keep my spirit from spiraling. On the very day I lost my job, I happened to drive by this church, and I saw a sign that Centennial was looking for an administrative assistant. And deep down, I knew they can't afford me or someone with my background, but I took it as a sign from God that this was the someday I was going to come into this church. So instead of applying for the position, I walked through the doors and asked if I could volunteer. I thought it was a simple act of just helping a neighborhood church and taking care of myself during an off time. I had absolutely no idea that one decision would quietly begin changing the direction of my life. Not long afterward, I met Lori, and one conversation became another, and soon I was helping with the NCC website and NCC marketing team and going to events and becoming part of your remarkable community. And has since, even though I continue to volunteer with Centennial, I am primarily a member here. And something else was happening too. After being away from the church for almost 30 years, I found myself praying again daily as the first act of my day. Before I do anything, before I look at my phone, anything, I started praying every single morning. I became completely obsessed, captivated by the television show, The Chosen. If you haven't watched it, I so recommend it. It is incredible, and it's available everywhere. If you don't have any platform that has it, you can obviously just go to your browser and find it and watch it for free. In fact, if you do, and you're excited about it too, I would love to form a Bible group about it, have us study that together. Because for me, watching that show, it wasn't just a television series to waste my time in the evenings. I was rediscovering Jesus through that show. Not as an idea, but as someone whose compassion and curiosity was challenging the way I was currently living and showing me a way I wanted to live. Then another unexpected door opened for me. A board member at Dreams Are Possible asked if Lori knew anyone who might fit as a brand new case manager, even though my career had been in travel for 25 years and event management. Lori still encouraged me to apply. I thought she was crazy. I really did. And she said, if you can manage $1 million events and take huge companies like NASA to Antarctica, you can manage a case of a woman in Bloomington Normal. And so I applied. And Mary Campbell, the executive director and co-founder of Dreams Are Possible, looked beyond my resume and gave me the opportunity I never imagined. She didn't simply hire me because of my background. She saw possibilities in me that I hadn't yet seen in myself, the same ones that Lori saw. And looking back now, I don't see them as isolated coincidences. I see one door opening another, one person, Lori, believing in me, one community quietly changing another life without even realizing it. I had begun living Howard Thurman's question. I had come alive again. And that's what I began asking myself another question. Well, what exactly is Dreams Are Possible? When people hear the name, they will assume it's just a nonprofit that helps people, and that's certainly true. But it's only a small part of the story. Dreams Are Possible is a local nonprofit dedicated to helping women and families build brighter futures through education, workforce development, mentoring, and practical support. The organization is headed by Mary Campbell, who's still the executive director. She has spent years believing in people long before they believe in themselves. My particular role is with a program called Women Building New Futures. It's a program that's been funded by CareerLink, which is part of the Department of Labor, and they want to explore the idea of helping women get non-traditional roles, which means women in jobs where they represent less than 25% of the workforce. And those would include manufacturing, transportation, construction, the skilled trades, other careers like IT, AV, anything that is normally a man's job, we're trying to get more women into. Definitely jobs that have family-sustaining wages and long-term stability. But if you ask me today what our work is really about, it isn't simply helping women find better jobs. It's helping them to discover possibilities that they may have never imagined for themselves. The goal is not merely employment, it is transformation. One of the greatest surprises for me during this time, these 2 months of working there, is discovering how close poverty has always been. I've lived here most of my life, and I'm embarrassed to say that I didn't know there was this much poverty in Bloomington Normal. I genuinely did not know. I knew poverty existed, of course, and I knew it from news stories, from statistics, but knowing something exists and then seeing it and being in someone else's story is something completely different. And these women invited me into their stories, and in doing that, they changed mine. Many of the women that we serve aren't simply looking for work. They're raising children. They're caring for aging parents. They're helping grandparents. They're supporting nieces and nephews who don't have parents. They're trying to keep a roof over everyone's head. Sometimes that means working more than one job. Sometimes it's wondering how they're going to pay next month's rent. And sometimes it's deciding which bill has to wait for health care expenses. When I lost my own job, I was frightened. I was worried about paying my bills too, just like anyone else would be. But I also knew something that these women don't know. I believed my situation was temporary. I had years of experience, a professional network, and the confidence that another opportunity would surely come my way soon. I had advantages that these women never had, and that realization humbled me. Because many of these women sitting in our classrooms don't have the certainty that I had. Sometimes all they have is hope, and even hope can be difficult to hold on to when life keeps telling you no. And that realization has changed me. It's made me realize how my blessings have quietly been taken for granted, not because I worked harder and not because I deserved more, but simply because life had given me opportunities that many others never received. And then came an important pivotal day in my new career, and that was Forklift Day. As the newest member of the team, I volunteered to coordinate a Saturday forklift certification class at Heartland Community College. Normally, Dreams Are Possible shows up and brings breakfast in the morning and comes back and does lunch. And they let the instructor run the show for the rest of the day. However, I decided to stay all day. I have to confess, I regretted that decision almost immediately. It was one of those incredibly hot days, and I'm not built for heat. That's just that. And I was sweating already, and it was 8 a.m., and so I was thinking to myself, what have I gotten myself into? And I'm looking at the forklift, I was thinking, I don't belong there. I don't know what we're doing. So, and then I started hearing complaining from the ladies. Everybody was miserable for the heat. And I started to get worried I could lose them. They could abandon this whole thing just because it's 100 degrees outside. And so my event planner brain kicked in, and I thought, wait a minute, I have a solution. As any good event manager would, I have things in my trunk of my car. So I started pulling out folding chairs and umbrellas, anything I could find shade with. And it wasn't anything extraordinary. It was just simply trying to make it a little comfortable, a little more easy for us to endure. And looking back, I don't think that the umbrellas were what mattered. It was the fact that I stayed. I earned the forklift certification right alongside those women, not because I ever planned to drive a forklift, but because curiosity and empathy have always been two of my greatest teachers. I wanted to experience what they're experiencing. I wanted to understand what I was asking of them. And we spent nearly 9 hours together that day. We laughed, we sweated, we encouraged each other. I took pictures of each and every one of them earning their certifications. And during lunch, I jokingly told them, if you want your pictures, you're gonna have to text me. And I'll admit that was some strategy, because I was needing to recruit them for my new program, Women Build New Futures. And I was hoping by them taking my number, I could be in contact with them to encourage them to join my program. And luckily, every single one of them wanted their pictures. And so they took my number and texted me. And now most of them have applied for my Women Building New Futures. Throughout that day, we talked about the work, family, and the future. And by the time the certification was over, we weren't strangers anymore. At the end of the day, one of the women, called Kiki, looked at me and quietly said, "I'm really glad you stayed." Later, during our conversation, she admitted to me that she'd been putting off a certification exam because she'd done all the classes but hadn't scheduled the exam. She was convinced she wouldn't pass. She was just terrified. And I said, "Kiki, you've already earned a certification today. You have seen proof you can do hard work. It is ridiculous that you are worried about failing. Please schedule that test." And I stayed in contact with her. She has scheduled that test to this day. I thought I earned a forklift certificate that day, but looking back, what I really earned was trust from these women. And somewhere in that parking lot, standing under an umbrella with students, I realized no one flourishes alone. That day also changed the way I thought about a particular aspect of our program, which first sounded very practical. It was called Earn While You Learn. When I first heard about Earn While You Learn, I understand it was from a budgeting perspective, what it fundamentally meant. Women in our program will receive $108 each week while they complete the 8-week training course. On paper, that sounds like a simple incentive plan, but paper doesn't tell you the whole story. Every day at Dreams, we have classes, and my office sits just outside of the pantry and kitchen area, which is where the women gather before class, during breaks, and after class. It's where they laugh, it's where they grab a drink together, it's where they visit and shop in our free pantry and quietly pick up groceries or household items to take home to their families. Which reminds me, I took a lot of those whistles and I need more of them because they all disappeared immediately the first day. Most days they forget I'm sitting around the corner and I hear their conversations. Not because I'm listening in, but because life has a way of revealing itself when people feel safe enough to be themselves. I heard women talking about choosing between paying rent and buying groceries. I've heard them worry about keeping the lights on. I've heard them encourage one another after difficult weeks. And more than once I've heard them say, if it weren't for Earn While You Learn, I couldn't be here. That changed me. Before this job, I probably would have just called it an incentive, but today I call it dignity. Because these women aren't being paid to sit in a classroom. They're making an investment in themselves. They are choosing to spend 8 weeks away from their jobs, away from their children, away from aging parents, away from responsibilities that never stop waiting for them. Their time is valuable, just like yours, just like mine. In every profession, we understand that. We compensate people for their time, their effort, their commitment. Why should these women be any different? But in 8 weeks, it's only the beginning. They don't get paid for the year that they have to commit to me. So for every woman who enters into the Women Building New Futures program, they must commit to an entire year of coaching with me. Together we build a plan. Sometimes that plan leads to a certificate program at Heartland. Sometimes it leads to apprenticeship, sometimes it leads directly into employment. But regardless of the path, we walk it together. Because we find a job is only part of building a new future. Sometimes the barriers have nothing to do with work. One day, a young woman came into my office carrying something much heavier than a resume. Her grandmother had passed away and left her the home she'd been living in for the last decade. But months had gone by since she passed and the taxes were due. She wasn't sure that the paperwork had ever been filed for the will, that she even owned the house. And she was terrified she was going to lose the only home that she'd had for the last 10 years. She told me that fear had paralyzed her from acting. She simply didn't know where to begin. And while I couldn't magically solve her problems for her, I did help her find the next steps. Together we made a plan, we contacted the attorney that wrote the will, and then we worked on getting the deed transferred. And now we're working on resources to help with the property taxes and the attorney fees. Little by little, the fear began giving way to hope for this young woman. Another woman came to me worried about paying next month's rent while her husband recovered from surgery. And together we found community resources and emergency assistance. A week later, she came back smiling, not because her problems had disappeared, but because she no longer had to face them alone. Another woman shared with me that she needed a ride home after class, that she had missed the bus. And on that day, on that drive, it was a talk much deeper than transportation and why she was taking the bus. She shared loneliness and that she needed community. And that conversation just shocked me, that so many people are hurting and they need people in their lives. And earlier I read to you the words from Galatians, bear one another's burdens. I've heard that verse many times in my life, but these past few months have given it a whole new meaning. Sometimes bearing another person's burden means listening, and sometimes it means encouraging. Sometimes it means making a phone call. Sometimes it means helping someone complete paperwork that they're too overwhelmed to do for themselves. And sometimes it means giving someone a ride home. Sometimes it means believing in someone before they believed in themselves, like Lori did in me. And that's why I feel like Earn While You Learn matters so much, so that I can keep this program going to help these women and provide for the needs they have to make their dreams possible. This fall, we hope to raise enough support that 10 women can participate in the next cohort. For those 10 women, the support represents $8,500. When you hear that number, I don't want you to think of it as a fundraising goal. I want you to picture 10 women, 10 families, 10 futures, 10 people who simply need someone to remove one barrier so they can say yes to the life they've been hoping for. Because I've learned something from these past few months. Changing a life rarely happens fast. More often, it begins with one conversation, one opportunity, one person who says, I believe in you. And isn't that what this community has been doing for one another all along? You've certainly done that for me. So, with that, I want to finish up by going into Dreams Are Possible and what I do for them. Lots of people ask me, well, what are you doing at Dreams Are Possible? Because people know me as a travel person. They're like, how did this happen, you know? And I think that's not the right question. It's what is Dreams Are Possible doing for me? When I first accepted this position, I thought I was there to help women build new futures. I never imagined they'd be building mine. These past few months have changed me, not in dramatic ways that everyone would notice, but in quiet ways, the kinds of changes that happen almost without you realizing it, until one day you look back and you see you're not quite the same person you used to be. I've always believed empathy was one of my strengths. I genuinely care about people. My entire career has been caring for people through travel and making their dreams come true. So it's apropos that I would be working at an organization called Dreams Are Possible. I've always been a caring person, but if I'm completely honest, my empathy often came with frustration, because when people ignore my good advice, or when fear keeps them from taking the steps I advise, or when they made choices I can't possibly understand after my advice, I get frustrated, or I want to step in and fix everything for them. I wanted people to make the decision that seems obvious to me. Maybe some of you know that feeling. These women have been teaching me something very different. They've been teaching me patience. They've taught me grace. They've taught me that everyone is carrying a story that I don't fully see, and that real compassion isn't meeting people where I wish they were. It's meeting them exactly where they are. They've helped me to see my own life differently. Before this experience, I carried around a story about myself, a story shaped by loss, by grief, by betrayal, by regret and disappointment. Those were real, and they still are a part of my story, but they are no longer the whole story. Walking beside these women has shown me something I somehow had forgotten. I'm also deeply blessed. I had so many opportunities. I've explored the world. I have done amazing things. I've had incredible mentors. I've had good friends who've believed in me. I've had people who opened doors that I couldn't open for myself. And when I look back now, I don't see a tragic life like others may think. I see a life where I was quietly carried by many people, just as these women are being carried by others. I have become less attached to my own sad story of the past, and strangely, because I'm less attached, I've become more peaceful. I've become less concerned about the outcomes of every situation, less controlling. It comes from trusting that I don't have to walk alone anymore. Perhaps there's another way of saying that, and I would say it's no one flourishes alone. So, sunflowers, I'm going to transition here to the end. Sunflowers have become a meaningful symbol in my life. They remind me a great deal of my sister, who was the love of my life. She was everything to me. When sunflowers are young, they turn toward the light. They don't create light. They simply know where to find it. Eventually, as they mature, they become so deeply rooted that they no longer spend their days turning from east to west. Instead, they remain steady, grounded. There's something beautiful about that, because I think our spiritual lives are much the same. There are seasons when we are searching, and we're trying to figure out where the light is, trying to find our place in it, trying to discover who we're meant to become. And then without realizing it, we begin to root ourselves in love, community, purpose, and grace. We still need one another, we always will, but we become steadier and more peaceful, more able to reflect the light that we receive from others. When I first read the Robin Wall Kimmerer's words, "All flourishing is mutual," I didn't understand it, but I do now. This church welcomed me when I needed purpose. Lori believed in me before I could imagine there was a path for myself. Mary at Dreams Are Possible believed in me before she knew I had enough experience to do this job. The women at Dreams Are Possible trust me enough to let me walk beside them, and every one of those relationships has changed me. Not one of us has arrived alone, not one of us grows alone, and not one of us heals alone. This morning, I hope you will remember one thing, not necessarily my story or even Dreams Are Possible. I hope you will remember that someone somewhere is waiting for another person to believe in them. Sometimes that belief looks like encouragement. Sometimes it looks like listening, like mentoring, or like opening a door. Sometimes it looks like helping remove an obstacle from another human being, and so that they can discover what was inside of them all along. And sometimes it simply looks like staying. That day at the forklift training, when Kiki looked at me and said, "I'm glad you stayed," I've thought about those words many times since, because maybe that's one of the greatest gifts we've given to each other. Not perfect answers, not perfect solutions, just our presence, our belief, our willingness to stay, to be present. We become people who can help people come alive. May we become communities where every person knows they are seen, valued, and loved. And may we always remember, no one flourishes alone. May it be so.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. Are there comments or questions or insights that people want to share this morning? We just take a little bit time to ponder.
Well, I just wanted to put in a cheer for Mary Campbell, too. When I first knew her several years ago, she'd started a program for women just out of prison. And she got the local AFL-CIO to work with her and job training for these women. And boy, what a success that turned out to be, and it's led to other things like what you are experiencing.
How would a woman know she qualify or would be able to get into the program?
So I have a flyer I can give you, or you can send them to me, or go to our website. For the Women Building New Futures, they would contact me directly, and the requirements are that you be 18 years of age, that you be an American citizen, or you have a green card. And then there are income requirements, meaning it's a level of poverty that we're obviously looking at. There are exceptions to the rules, though, as always. So if you've been laid off of a job, things like that, they wouldn't forget about the income situation, just try to help. One of the benefits of this program is that it's pretty serious, it's intense. The idea is not just to give you a training and walk away. It is to genuinely find people true work that is significant. So if you know of anyone, that's a woman, I should say, the whole program is about women, then put them in touch with me and I will be glad to speak with them or assist them in any way I can. Even if they can't fit in my Women Building New Futures program, Dreams Are Possible has their own program that's separate, that's their main program, that's not as restrictive as the government's program.
I suppose for my own perspective or so, do you know if Dreams Are Possible has any kind of program helping to find employment for disabled men?
Of course, there is. It's not through Dreams Are Possible, so I will email you the information for the organization that helps men. I don't know the name of it, but I know that one of the instructors at Dreams Are Possible does double duty and works at that organization, so I'll get the information to you. Mm-hmm. Well, great.
I really appreciated what you had to say, Sandy. I thought, I don't know, your story was, like it, I don't know, I guess, like I saw, I guess I related to, I don't know what the correct word was it, but, yeah, just the flourishing together, I think that's true too. I don't think that you can be in a relationship with somebody and not be changed, no matter what. But yeah, like it's, I don't know, there's just like an intimacy when you're helping somebody. And of course that would, yeah, no, I think it makes perfect sense that that would inspire a change in both people, everybody involved, and like the ripple effects of it. Just like, yeah, we're all connected.
Yeah.
That's what I took away.
Exactly. And so I've been an independent woman that's on my own a lot for most of my life, and I had a very small circle, if any circle at all, so I was always on my own. And when I lost my job, it totally made me realize I need a circle. I need something. I need some help here. I didn't even have someone call to say this happened to me, And through my friendships with Lori and other people at this church, it started to make me responsible for my actions. Like if I was going to miss church, Lori would be texting me. You know what I mean? Like if I was going to do anything, I was talking to people about it. I was getting feedback, and not having to do everything alone. Finally felt like I was more at peace, at making decisions, at doing things that were good for myself, getting feedback instead of trying to figure out everything on my own. And like even doing this reflection, which is not a natural thing for me to do, for heaven's sake, I wanted to do it because of the relationship I've built with Lori and wanting to be there for her at her time of need. So I think having these interweaved relationships, expectations, things you want to do, make you accountable, make you more willing, make you more pliable, and make you more dependable as people.
Any other?
I hope this doesn't make you worry, but just because you didn't want to do it today, what I spent a lot of time thinking when I was trying to keep myself on you was, oh, you need to do it this talk at this spot and this spot and this spot. So I think you're maybe going to stretch yourself because what you said really resonated and worked and needs to be heard.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Sandy, thank you so much for your reflection
Thank you.
and sharing your experiences. And I truly enjoyed what you had to say. And when I look at you, I look at a different person now.
Oh,
And getting to know you is through this is a real gift that you gave us all. Thank you.
thank you very much. Okay.
Now it's time for our hymn number 568.
Tis the gift to be simple, tis the gift to be free, tis the gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight, when true simplicity is gained. To bow and to bend, we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight. Till the turning, we come round right. Tis the gift to be simple, tis the gift to be free, tis the gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight, when true simplicity is gained. To bow and to bend, we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight. Till by turning, we come round right.
It is now time for our communion, a time of, it is now time for joys and concerns.
Now it's on.
Okay, my joy is that I have finally finished up all the stacked various whatnots that have been keeping me busy since I graduated in May, and I can finally start more consistently working down at the Edge of Normal, our local custom knife making shop, and I've drawn up various designs to hopefully get us into the world of folding knives, and it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. So, if anyone here is interested in fancy hand-folded Damascus pocket knives or really snazzy kitchen knives or anything like that, pop on by the Edge of Normal on Madison Street in Bloomington. It's a very fun shop.
Congratulations.
have a lighthearted joy to share. Like, I am house sitting for the Turners, who are members of this congregation, because Sally has a heart of gold and takes in everything. Like, she has 4 feral cats she's taking care of, and 1 she's already rescued and is in the house, and she couldn't go on vacation unless she knew they were going to be cared for. So I've been staying there for 2 weeks. I have 3.5 more weeks to go. And last night there was a storm, and I was worried, like her, I'm crazy worried about these cats in the rain. And they came to the door, and so I set up the pet carrier with a blanket, and I was surprised that they took help from me because they're feral, you know, and they don't ever let me touch them. Whenever I put food out, they skitter away and then come back once I've gone back inside. But this time, because of the rain, they were like, okay, we can trust her. We're going to go with this. And they all got inside the cage. And I had prayed that it would happen because I was worried about them. And then I thought, I could snap that cage closed right now and take them to Feral Sterile and get this taken care of. But there was a part of me that just couldn't do it. I thought, I can't do it because they trusted me. So it was a moment of joy and concern, but it made me happy.
Some weeks ago, I mentioned prayers for a friend who was in the hospital trying to find the next step for her care. I was able to locate a swing bed for a week, and now she's home. And at this point, she can now amble around her house without a walker and taking it very easy. But she's on her way to recovery, so I like to share that.
Thank you. That's great. David has offered to do our prayer today.
Let us be in prayer. Gracious and loving God, we give you thanks for times when we may stop and think and pray and sort through our lives and truly feel your presence. Hear the prayers of your people, spoken and unspoken. Touch our lives as you will. And so, God of grace and God of glory, on your people, pour your power. The hosts of evil are around us, scorn you and even your love for us and for all people. And yet from these fears that long have bound us, free our hearts to faith and praise. Save us from weak resignation to the evils we deplore. And let the search for your salvation be our glory evermore, so that we may live our lives in relationship to you and to one another. Amen.
And now it really is time for our communion, a time of sharing in the love of God, the kinship of Jesus, and the connectedness of beloved community. This communion represents belonging in our faith, belonging to God and to each other. Let us now receive communion. With this communion, we commit ourselves to be the continuance of Jesus' spirit and his ministry, symbolizing a new covenant. We are a community grounded in this new covenant. Let us now share this sacred meal. Now a blessing from Cody Sandall. Sisters and brothers, go into the world with the mind of Christ. Go into the world to be the hands of Christ. Go into the world filled with the love of Christ. Amen. And now let's stand and sing our peace song. What? No round, yeah. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of God now in peace. May the love of
Everywhere you may go, everywhere you may go.
Have a great week, all.